Hello there, welcome back to another episode, another week, another John Boorman film. Yeah, this week I watched Deliverance, John Boorman's classic from the early 1970s, before like suburbanites who go have a weekend of canoeing basically down the rapids. They're led by Burt Reynolds as the macho guy Lewis. Then you have John Voight as this pipe smoking, kind of liberal, new man who thinks he's civilized. He's kind of vague in a lot of ways. Then he's brought along this insurance guy, played by Ned Beatty, who's a bit of a blowhard at times, a bit insecure. It's a bit facile really. He's on with people, but never too close. And then you've got Drew, played by Ronnie Cox, who's gets along with everyone, very logical, pretty much the decent guy of the group, the guy that everybody says, yeah, he's a nice guy. He's like, even Burt Reynolds' character, who can't stand the Beatty character, likes this guy. and Burt Reynolds plays a total blowhard, and even he thinks this guy's cool. It's like because Drew's the kind of soul of the group. He's the guy who's got it all together more than anyone else. He doesn't like draw attention to himself. He's just one of those people. He seems to have it together. He knows who he is. He's far less insecurities than the rest of the guys in this group. So it's all about these four guys going wild canoeing down this river that's going to be destroyed because they're building a dam. It's going to be dammed off and it'll be underwater. So it's not going to be here much longer. So they said, that's your only chance to go. Instead of going golfing this weekend, let's go canoeing down this rapid river and test our manhoods. And that's the setup. And it really is taking these guys who think they're civilized back towards the primal instincts and see. It's not just who's got what, like who can survive and who can't, but also what's the cost of that and where the paranoias come in. And it's a look at man, a civilized man, and all the fears and all the pretensions that he has and all the areas of doubt and damage that he's going to accrue over this weekend when everything goes completely pear-shaped. So, I mean, it was a massive hit on release. It was just one of those films that just delivered, and Oscar nominations and everything. Everybody did well at this one, and Boorman took the momentum that makes Zardoz, and then Exorcist 2, then Excalibur. So he just took what he could from that and just did all his weird films after this. Which is good. Because I like Boorman when he's weird. And Excalibur is a genuine great film. So that's... and Zardoz is wonderful. And Exorcist 2 is one of my favourite guilty pleasure, weird as hell movies. So I was quite pleased how he spent his capital as being a successful director. But this is a much more conventional film. And it is wonderfully direct and to the point. And it's a wonderful thing of it. It starts off this kind of Altman-esque voiceover as they're driving over, they're going through the countryside, just seeing the country getting dug up, and you're listening to them talk, and they're talking nonsense. And you get them, the characters, well before they even go on the river. You get to the sense that these people are trying to prove themselves to each other, and they know it doesn't matter because they don't actually respect each other that much anyway. So it's like you're trying to prove yourself to people who don't care, and who's, if you thought about it, you shouldn't be trying to prove yourself to this person. You're trying to prove yourself to yourself. So it's like it's wonderful, that kind of sense of humour the film's got about the characters. It's like they're not that deep to start with, and it just is a kind of indictment of just modern man and his obsessions, really, and his pretensions to be important in some way. Just is that thing this film has going. So it's just wonderful. Now, of course, the famous scene that starts off is the dueling banjo scene, as they come across this child who's playing the banjo, who's obviously inbred and has some deformities, and him and Ronnie Cox play the banjo with each other because he's playing the banjo and Ronnie Cox the guitar, and they're doing a dueling banjos thing, and the kid's better than Ronnie Cox is, Everyone's having a great, grand old time watching them play, and it's a great sequence. But the banjo thing comes back through the score as we go. It's darker, it becomes much more ominous. But it's also this thing of these two different cultures merging for a little bit before, you know, the pretensions of the city folk and the distrust of the city folk by the locals just getting away. And Ned Beatty's character always puts his foot in it. He's always saying things that would work okay in a very shallow environment of the city. They don't work here because people don't decide to hear about this stuff. And he's just all in people's nerves. He's not really annoying, but he's slightly annoying. And he gets on everyone's nerves, and basically they put him with Lewis, who is Buck Reynolds' character on the first day, just to punish him. It's like, you deal with him, because we don't want to listen to you anymore. And Buck Reynolds yells at him all the way down during that first day of canoeing. And it's wonderful. The canoeing sequences are amazing. Because I watched this projected. I'm not the greatest projector, but the projection of this stuff is great. Every so often you feel that maybe they've sped up the film a little bit, but usually it looks really dangerous. You can see the actors doing it. You can see Buck Reynolds yelling at Ed Beatty the whole time in character. And it's really thrilling to watch. I mean, this film is thrilling to watch because they did everything. They made everything look real, and they also went out into the, into the dangerous areas and actually shot this thing. So it was obviously not an easy shoot, and they really went for the nature thing. And I wouldn't have done any of the stuff they were doing, or the actors are doing. It's like, wow, you did that. I would never have done that. And it's really cool to watch. The canoeing sequences are great, and it looks dangerous. What they're doing looks dangerous. Like, the water is pretty dangerous looking and pretty horrible looking. So I don't like that kind of stuff. So I would never do that. So there you go. That's one of my areas of cowardice. But it is a wonderful sequence, and it's just so well done. What's great about it is it sets it up like you're getting the danger of the environment, but nothing ominous has happened yet. Nothing scary has happened. It's just watching these people, these four supposedly civilized people, deal with each other and not get along in this dangerous area. I mean, you see John Voight's character try to learn how to do the bow, and he's a bit scared about killing anybody killing an animal because he has a conscience. He's a civilized man. He's above this. And Buck Reynolds calls him out, and I was like, well, if you're so above it, why are you always hanging out with me? Who's really interested in all that stuff, and he's just macho and all the rest of it. And the Ronnie Cox's character quietly in the background calls out Buck Reynolds by saying, like, he does all this stuff, but it's only because he knows he couldn't actually hack it. And if he's always talking about when mankind failed and you have to go back to survive on your own, only some of us will survive. And Ronnie Cox is more or less saying, like, he will not be one of them. He knows he doesn't have it in him, and that's what he hates about himself. So there's lots of little subtleties going on, like, and it's like just people on each other's nerves a little bit, because these people are strangers ultimately. I mean, they know each other through the John Voight character mainly. All three of them know him. They don't know each other, so everyone else is fighting off against each other a little bit. Everyone likes Ronnie Cox's character, but the Red Beatty one really gets on the nerves. And then all hell breaks loose, because everything's been going fine. They've been getting a confidence up. They've been prodding each other. And then the horrible thing happens where John Voight and Ned Beatty are ahead because Ned Beatty refused to go Buck Reynolds anymore to his own. It doesn't work well for him, that thing. So they go ahead. They're further ahead than ours, and they stop at a certain area, and they're just going to wait for them there. And then they come across these two backwoodsmen who tell them they're lost. They tells them, like, no, you're going the wrong way. Like, you cut off the wrong thing. And then Ned Beatty just won't shut up, so he baits these people into really hating him. I mean, these people might have just messed him a little bit on their way, or your city folk, blah blah blah. But Ned Beatty just gets on their nerves, and it's so presumptuous that it just triggers them. And they decide, we're going to mess with these people, and then it becomes this nightmare sequence where Ned Beatty gets male raped and told to screw like a piggy. And John Voight's tied up so he can't escape. He's tied, his neck's tied to the tree, knowing it's his turn soon. I mean, they don't want him to have a pretty mouth and stuff like that. And it's like, it's the worst nightmare for a man. And you see Ned Beatty go through it all, and he has to run around and try and escape them under his underwear. And just after that happens, as they're about to move on to Voight, the others catch up and they put an arrow through one of the rapists. Another one that gets away, loses his gun, but he gets away. And this is where they fall apart, basically, because they basically saying, okay, if we take his body back, everybody here knows each other. No matter what we say, they're going to say we're lying. So to hide the body. And three of them agree, but Ronnie Cox says, no, this is wrong, you have to actually follow the law. And he's outvoted, and you just see him going to himself, and it utterly destroys him. It just utterly destroys his soul. And then as they try to travel away from that, try to run away from what happened and not talk about it, then Ronnie Cox falls over in the river, and no one's sure he's been shot or he's for his suicide. They go into these rapids, and one of the boats gets smashed up. Burt Reynolds' leg is messed up, and they're not sure if someone's shooting at them or not. And you just watch them get more and more paranoid, and just watching these men just slowly fall apart, bit by bit. It's about the destruction of the soul, because as soon as they decide to hide the body, it's like almost like a sin. And Boorman hangs on the logic the whole time. He's really keen on the logic they're going through to try and justify their actions, and how they argue each other, and how they create a thing of, we're going to follow democracy, blah blah blah. And basically it comes down to John Voight's character who says hide the body, which is his sort of sin he has to carry the rest of his life, basically. And slowly you see them dissolve, like when he falls into himself. Ned Beatty looks very nervous after his encounter. But Reynolds becomes almost like super focused on getting away and hide the body and nobody talk about it again, and just it never happened. And then when all hell breaks loose and Ronnie Cox dies, these collapse. I mean, basically, Burt Reynolds is delirious. He's probably going to lose his leg. Ned Beatty is useless, and it falls to John Voight to actually trying to hunt down the person that's hunting them. But they're not sure, because it's all about the male paranoia in this environment. Is someone hunting them, or are they just gone mad? Are they so scared they won't admit they're scared? And this paranoia floats through this whole section as they slowly are terrified of the fact that they just might be terrified. And that's it. And it's all about trying to find this guy. And once they actually shoot a hunter, they're not sure if the hunter was the other guy who tried to rape them, or if it's some other hunter who was just nearby that they can't tell in the face, never saw close enough his face. Or they did, but they remember it right, because you're watching it thinking, I don't think it's the same guy. Like, objectively, I think it's a different actor probably. But the guy's had teeth that fall out, and the other guy they saw had teeth that came out as well. And it's like, they're trying to work it out, because deep down they know it's not the same guy. Deep down they know they've committed another murder. They have to hide that body too. And then they come across Ronnie Cox's body, which they have to weigh down as well. And it all just gets crazier and crazier, and it just becomes less about the physical world. The physical world is just all around them and doesn't care. It's there mentally falling apart, but trying to look strong. And trying to come up with a cover story so they don't get arrested. And it's all about watching them slowly dissolve. An interesting thing is, the more you watch them, the more the John Voight character becomes less and less likable, and the more horrible he becomes. Even though he doesn't do anything really horrible, he's really haunted by what he's done. What he's found out about himself is like he can kill somebody, which he never thought he could do, and he can become a hunter. He can do all this other stuff. He doesn't like it, but he can do it. But he can be selfish. He can be a liar to the police to get himself out of this problem. He's not above all that stuff, and he thought he was. And he thought he was this great liberal who was above what they came from in the past, who's moved beyond it, and he realised he's not. He's just tied to the past, animalism as any of his friends were. You know, that's the kind of thing that really haunts him, this sense of he isn't as advanced as he thought. And so this feeling of the film is people trying to escape from their past, of their like physical roots, as being like basically working the land, the cold land that's not very inviting, which human beings have done for centuries. They've got beyond that, and they're very uncomfortable with that. They're very terrified of that. And some will try and embrace it, like Burt Reynolds' character, but it's a facade. They try to go into that because they're not very comfortable with the modern world. The other ones who think they're comfortable in the modern world are uncomfortable with the animalistic side of their nature. Then there's other ones like Ned Beatty who are so facile that he seems to get beyond what happened to him quicker than anyone else could imagine. He's not going to think about it. He's just going to focus on the fragile, facile interactions he can have. So as soon as he gets as soon as he gets back, he can talk to the local people as if nothing happened. And then only shows paranoia when he's talking to the John Voight character. The rest of the time, he's very naturalistic and very calm. He's an assurance salesman. Nothing gets to him. And he's much happier in that kind of facile world. And no matter what's been punched at him, he will keep to that. While the Ronnie Cox character couldn't take that. And the John Voight characters are very disturbed by it, but he can push through. So it becomes this thing about all the men are haunted by their actions in an emergency. Even though they didn't cause this problem, the presence there caused the problem. They weren't really welcome there, and they forced themselves on the area, and they didn't really show enough respect for it, or the people involved. And it just becomes this tragedy of modern man and his stupidities. Well, you have that. You also have the style of Boorman. Boorman is a really terrific stylist. He really knows what he's doing. Even his films that don't work, they still are fascinating. They still get a lot to them. And this is even where he was always interested in the visuals and whatever it meant, and everything is layered, so it means different things. The colour schemes are layered, and the depth of the image is layered, and everything means something. But he's also got this really lean idea he's working on, but it means that he's got enough depth to it that he can actually take what's a simple story and stretch it out so that all the nuances are there, and he can have well written exchanges of people facing off against each other, but not in a very obvious way. And all of that informs the themes of the film, of mankind being terrified of the past and terrified of where they came from, and of nature, and of terrified of nature coming back to haunt them. And so this kind of paranoia is always there, but it's always layered and more layered. And of course there's the famous shot at the end with the hand coming up, which is almost like the subconscious floating into the conscious mind and terrifying them. It's just this thing that's always there, it's a fear of what's come before, and just using the images to do it. Like Boorman shows Voight's fear of climbing this cliff, but he does it. He does it very visually, showing how hard it is to do it, how hard it is for this guy to do it, how hard it is for him to shoot this other guy, and the pain involved, and the psychological pain, the physical pain, and he knows when to stretch out the physicality and how he makes actors do a lot of their own stunts and stuff, and the physicality informs it because you can see their distress as they're doing it, and these characters are just not even footing, like ever. They always feel like they're always about to topple over in some way. You just feel the fear always. And that's the big problem with Boorman sometimes when he's doing a film that's much more faster paced with lots of ideas, is he doesn't have these grace moments to show the fear and the base characteristics of the character, and sometimes he jumps so quickly into their ideas that he doesn't has established the base of the drama. So something like Exorcist 2 just jumps right into the weirdness straight away, while this one really takes its time, so you're about an hour in before all hell breaks loose. Which is funny, because this does what The Exorcist did, but this one does it better because there's more to it, there's more depth and layers to the idea of taking a naturalistic situation and slowly building it up towards the paranoia and the craziness and surviving through paranoia and your own insecurities. Which is kind of what The Exorcist does. The Exorcist does it with supernatural stuff, but this film did it better, really. I mean, I know some people like The Exorcist, but this is better. This film's just much better. Really, objectively. None of the subjective crap. This is objectively a better film than The Exorcist. Always. And if you're wrong, if you think I'm wrong, you're ugly. Just to finish it off, an insult. But yeah, this is a beautiful film. This is wonderful. Highly recommended. You probably have all seen it already. We're watching this. This is just a wonderful, wonderful film. But if you can see it projected, watch it projected, because so much what Boorman does is lost in the small screen. You really need to see it in the big screen for this one, because this is a cinematic film. This is a film for the cinema. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll be back soon with another video. Right, bye for now.